Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everybody's doing well out there today. A few days ago, I made a video about my server rack behind me and the different hardware in it and what I use it for, that sort of thing. The video was fairly well received, other than the rightful criticism for the amount of dust in some of this. And so yesterday I shut some stuff down and got some stuff cleaned up and got things kind of reconfigured in there to fit my needs. Unfortunately, some of that stuff changed after I made that video. We'll talk about it another time. Anyway, so I posted an update over on the community tab here on the channel, showing some of the updates, and somebody in the comments had mentioned that they would like to see me talk about ZimaOS. And I'm going to be honest, I had never heard of ZimaOS. I was familiar, obviously, with CasaOS, but I did some research and started looking into ZimaOS, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in today's video. This video is sponsored by Marmot.io. Do you or your company have trouble managing your IT assets? Marmot.io is the IT management solution that can help you track, manage, and optimize your IT assets. With Marmot.io, you can track all of your IT assets in one place, including hardware, software, and licenses. You can also manage the lifecycle of your IT assets from acquisition to disposal. Even better, you can optimize your IT asset utilization and reduce costs. Marmot.io is easy to use, and you can create your account in almost no time. It's cloud-based, so you can access it from anywhere with an internet connection. Also, for DB Tech viewers, Marmot is offering 6 months free for both the paid starter and pro plans if you use the coupon code DBTech6 when you sign up. Marmot gives you a complete view of all of your IT assets, so you can easily see what you have, where it's located, and who's using it. And Marmot can help you comply with IT regulations by tracking your software licenses and other IT assets. If you're serious about managing your IT assets effectively, then Marmot.io is the solution for you. Be sure to go to Marmot.io or click the link in the video description and use code DBTech6 to get 6 months free and start managing your IT assets more effectively. Now, this video isn't meant to be a tutorial. That's not what we're doing here today. We're just going to kind of take a look at ZimaOS, we're going to look at the GitHub repository. We're going to look through their documents a little bit. We're actually going to, later on in this video, get ZimaOS installed actually on a ZimaBoard. This is actually the very first ZimaBoard I received, and I know that because it's got the orange lettering on it. The two that I received later had that kind of the neon green version of this, but we're going to use this device to take a look at the kind of how the installation process works with ZimaOS. So I guess with that out of the way, let's jump over to my desktop and take a look at their docs and that sort of thing. Okay, so this is the IceWhale Tech GitHub repository for ZimaOS-RAUC. Again, all of this will be linked in the description down below. That's just how we do things here. But basically, if we look down, we can see that it says welcome, or it says ZimaOS Open Beta Program. So that's something to keep in mind here. This operating system, if my brain would work, still is in beta. So please don't deploy this into production and expect things to not break. Things are going to break if you put this in production. So just a little side note there. Okay. So below that, it says welcome to join the open beta of ZimaOS. ZimaOS is evolved from CasaOS, and we built a release version of ZimaOS for better hardware compatibility and update experience. It will perfectly adapt to the Zima series hardware and will also be compatible with x86-64 systems with UEFI. And I know this to be true because I deployed it last night, and the deploying process was a little bit different than I would have expected. We'll get into that later, though. It says it's built using build root and has a stable over-the-air update functionality based on CasaOS. We have built a new series of applications, and you can find the specific differences between CasaOS, or between it and CasaOS, from the table down below. So let's look at that. Features plan. They both have an app store, they both have storage management, they both have widgets, and they both have files and sharing. Now, here's where things start to deviate just a little bit. Remote access functionality is built into ZimaOS, and I'll just tell you that they use 0 tier for that, and it's super simple to set up. You just download the Zima app and install it, and it just kind of does everything for you and gets you ready to connect your system to your board from basically wherever, as long as you're connected to the 0 tier network that it's created. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Auto backup is still in testing phase. They do plan on adding Thunderbolt optimization, which I dig, and unified management for cloud and local storage. Chat with docs, so GPT powered on that. And they're apparently going to be coming up with RAID support. So they've got some stuff that already works. They've got some stuff that's testing, and they've got some stuff that's coming up. So be aware of that if you're going to deploy this. That again, this is beta. It's still a work in progress. And again, we're just looking at this for the sake of awareness, right? So it says it's lightweight, memory efficient. I agree. Minimized I/O. Again, I agree with basically all of this. Over-the-air updates. Sure. Okay, I haven't experienced the updates at all, so I don't know about these two things. But the disk management capabilities are getting better. I've noticed a little bit. So. Supported hardware is ZimaBoard, ZimaBlade, ZimaCube, which is in preparation, of course. In fact, if you've been following Zima for any period of time and you've signed up for their newsletter, you may have received an email saying that if you kind of like do a pre-order for $1, kind of as your deposit, you'll get a $100 coupon off of your order on Kickstarter, which is going live very, very soon. So that's something to keep in mind. And of course, generic x86-64, for example, Intel NUC. Now, I've actually got this set up on a mini PC in the other room where I was doing some testing, and it works really well. And we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But when it says down here, to boot ZimaOS, the BIOS needs to have UEFI boot mode enabled and secure boot disabled. Now, again, this is beta, so they're still working around some things, and this is how it's currently set up. Next, we need to write the ZimaOS image to the boot medium, which is the medium your Zima device or x86 hardware will boot from when running ZimaOS. Now, this is a little bit different than what we would have seen in the past. Basically, the way it works when you want to install Windows or Linux or whatever, right? You get a little USB device, and you plug it into your computer, and you open up Balena Etcher or whatever your preference is for writing these disk images. What the heck? Anyway, so and then you put this in the USB device or the USB drive or slot or whatever on the device you're going to install it on, and then you use this as your installation media. That is not the case for ZimaOS, and it took me a minute to realize that. Basically, when you download the OS, which we'll do in a minute, and when you use Balena, which we're going to use to write that image to this is now your operating system. This is your operating system hard drive, right? So that is something to keep in mind. This isn't an installation medium. This is your boot drive now once you get this installed. So that threw me a little bit. I think I've only seen that once or twice in the past. We'll take a look at that here in a bit, but I just kind of wanted to call attention to that just because it is a bit different than what we've seen in the past. So let's jump back over to my desktop. And then it says, notice, ZimaOS has no integrated installer that writes the image automatically. You must write it manually using Etcher, which is fine. And meanwhile, our integrated installer is under active development. So when you're doing something like installing this like on an eMMC chip, they've got an installer that they're working on for that. It's just not available yet. And then, of course, there's more stuff down here as far as the installation medium and that sort of thing. And then how to prepare your installation media. And of course, we'll go through all of this. And then setting up your Zima device. Again, we're going to cover all of this here in just a minute. But before we do that, let's actually jump over to this, which is where I currently have this set up on a little mini PC in the other room. So let's get logged in. This is going to look very, very similar to CasaOS, right? So I'm going to say, okay, so username and password and log in. And there, I changed the wallpaper on my dashboard here. That's why there was the little fade. In fact, yeah, if you just right click, like that was what it was. That's what I changed it to. Those are defaults that are available. So in here, we can see that this looks very, very much like CasaOS, almost exactly like CasaOS, if we're being completely honest. But again, this is kind of the next evolution that they're putting together to keep moving forward with their ecosystem. So right now we can see that we're idling at 1 watt, which mind-boggling. We're using a little bit of RAM, about 5% of our 16 gigs. The storage in there, that is actually the operating system that was already on that device. And then this data traveler was a 16 gig USB device that I originally wrote the operating system to, thinking that it was going to be the installation medium, not the OS medium. So that's why that's there. Basically, I thought that I was going to be writing to this other drive up here, and I was mistaken. And of course, again, this all looks very, very similar to CasaOS. We've got our network information down here. We've got widget settings, just like we have in CasaOS. You know, we can open this up and we can kind of take a look. For some reason, it's not giving us much there. That's interesting. But again, we can build our data station. We can enhance our personal host by adding hard drives and SSDs, and build your own personal data center. We've got file management. And I think there's one more, which is Connect. Now, this Connect is new, at least based on the last time I looked at CasaOS. So basically, the way it works is like this. You click Connect, and it's like, hey, there's nothing there. So what do? We click on Go to Download. And we've got a Mac OS client, we've got a Windows client. So we're going to download to the Windows client. Now, I say this, and I know that some people are just going to immediately respond with, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to install some third-party piece of software on my system that I don't trust. And I don't blame you. That's perfectly acceptable. This is just one way that they've made it easy for remote access. If you don't want to spend a lot of time, configuring your own third-party remote access, whether it's through Cloudflare tunnels or a VPN or a reverse proxy or whatever. This Zima app that we just finished downloading, it's going to be right here. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to open that. And it says, hey, Windows protected on your PC. We don't recognize this. And it's Zima latest setup. The publisher, this is, I don't know how to read that. But I'm pretty sure it says something to the effect of IceWhale or a ZimaBoard or whatever. If you know, let me know in the comments. That'd be cool. And then you've got the option to run anyway or don't run. Now look, once they have gone through and they've got this application where they want it, they can submit it and this will stop being present. Again, this is all still beta and we're still just talking about this for awareness, not as a tutorial, right? This isn't meant to be like, this is how you do it, because this is still very much in beta. Anyway, we're going to click run. So it says initializing. So we're going to give this a minute to do its thing. I mean, basically what it's going to do while it's initializing and whatnot is it's going to install the Zima application as well as zero tier to get our remote connection enabled. And once it's there, we'll take a look at that. And there is the zero tier 1 preparing to install little window there. Okay, so then there is this, and right here is our Zima Cube, right? I think it's funny that that's what it called the device by default. This is not a Zima Cube. I'm not that guy. I don't have that early access, right? So you can just connect to this, or you can connect by ID. So if you do that, right, then it brings this up, and if we come over to here. Oops, let's move this over. And right there is the ID. This device isn't going to be up for very long, so I don't care if you see this. It's whatever, right? So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's just go ahead and paste that in there. Oops. But you can't right click. You got to do Control V. We're going to click Connect. And then it's asking, hey, do you want this to be available? And I'm going to say yes. It's that little slide out thing on Windows when it connects to a new network. So it's still thinking. And here in a second, we should actually see an IP address right under remote login. It'll be like a 172 address. Basically, that'll be a zero tier IP address. Let's see, do we have anything? Man, it sure doesn't like this. Again, this is all still early beta. So I'm just going to click cancel. Open this back up. Scan and connect to Zima. Let's just do it this way, right? Let's just click connect. And then it wants us to log in, which I appreciate. Oh, we've also got this, hey, are you sure? Zima client backup. Do you want to allow that? Sure, why not? All right, so I'll put in my username and password for my Zima Cube that it thinks that we're on right now, and we'll click login. And then it opened a new tab. So that's fun. So let's move me out of the way. Okay, now if we look down here, we've got a zero tier application running, and we can see that my address, basically the computer that I'm on, That's my address there. I can join a network, and this is my remote address for the Zima Cube. Oops, right there. And that's basically all we're doing here, right? So if I come back to connect, interesting, it's not giving me an ID. That's weird. Okay, I didn't have that experience on my other PC. So again, this is all kind of, again, we're not expecting a ton out of this, but that would be the process to remotely access your system. You would just need to have that connection ID and install the Zima app, and then you can connect by that IP, that ID that was given, again, right there in that Connect app. So that's the basic gist on how to remotely connect using their built-in Connect software with the Zima app and zero tier, not Tailscale. Like I said, basically everything else here is going to be more or less the same. You know, we can go to like the App Store and hey, look, it's basically the same App Store as we saw in CasaOS. You know, and then you can click this and then you can click install. However, because we're on a really old USB device, it's going to be awful to deploy here, so we're not going to do it that way. But basically, this is more or less just the same. Again, we can add a containerized application, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks if you need to. This needs to be a different color, because that's really hard to see. Maybe that's because I'm colorblind. I don't know, but that should be a different color. Anyway, you can click that and you can do a Docker Compose in here, or you can do a Docker CLI in the next tab over and do a custom install of your applications that way as well. But basically, this is what you get with the new ZimaOS. Oh, you know what? I didn't look. I can do my account up there and settings. Again, this is all pretty much the same. You can turn the newsfeed off, which just affects right down here in the bottom left corner. Auto mount USB, you can change the web port, you can change the wallpaper, you can enable or disable the search bar. Again, very similar to CasaOS, just it's kind of the next evolution, and they're calling it ZimaOS. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what it's going to take to get this up and running on a Zima board, right? So here we are, we're back on the ZimaOS open beta program. I need to keep emphasizing this is still beta. I know I'm going to get comments about, well, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work? Because it's still in beta. Don't expect much out of it at this point. This, again, is still awareness. So in order to download, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the releases over here. Again, links in the description. We're going to click releases. And here we've got a couple of different releases. We've got 0.4.8 and we've got 0.4.8.1, which is a pre-release. Now, if we look at the 0.4.8, we can see that we've got an image .xz file extension here. And if we look at the assets under the 0.4.8.1, we've got a checksum, we've got some source code, and we've got this RAUCB file. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this file. And it says, what is this? It is a robust auto update controller. The RAUC controller, or the RAUC, I guess, RAUC controls the update process on embedded Linux systems. It is both a target application that runs as an update client and a host target tool that allows you to create, inspect, and modify installation artifacts. So it allows you to receive updates, but also on the other side, apparently it allows you to see issues that might be happening with these installs and these updates and that sort of thing, so that you can fix those problems more easily. At least that's how I'm interpreting what that says. So close this tab, go back over to here. What we're going to do is actually download this ZimaCube 048 img.xz file that was updated just last week. And then we're going to come over, oops, let's just open this up. And then we're just going to go ahead and extract to that, put that up. And right there is our disk image file. So let's make sure I've got Balena installed. I do, right, give it a second, there we go. So we're going to flash from a file. Okay, so I'm going to take this same little 128 gig USB 3 device here. I'm going to plug this in to my system right there. And I'm going to say flash from file. And then I'm going to go over to my downloads, go to here and grab that. Then I'm going to select my target, which is this 123, whatever. Select and flash. So we'll go ahead and wait for this to finish up with the flashing and the verifying and that sort of thing. Then we'll go ahead and get it plugged in. We're going to take this one out. That's got Proxmox on it. We're going to unplug that, set it aside. Then I'm going to go ahead and get it plugged into here. We're going to get network. We're going to get power. We're going to get display, which unfortunately is a mini display port. I wish they would quit doing this. I don't know what their logic is for doing this, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna get this set up, then we're gonna switch over and we're gonna take a look at the boot up process.
A few moments later.
Okay, so it just finished up, so we can go ahead and unplug our USB device here. Again, we're gonna plug this in right there. See, right there. Okay, so we're over on my desktop. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in power, and if all goes well, hopefully it will show up here on the screen. Okay, here we go. So this is a ZimaBoard 832. We can see when it was manufactured and all that good stuff. But what we want to do is come over here to the boot. And then I want to make sure that that is... Pretty sure that's the one we want. So let's go ahead and click Save and Exit and then say yes. So it's going to go ahead and reboot. Again, I'm keeping an eye on this cam link down here, making sure that it's going to light up and that we can see the stuff we need to see on the screen. That's a good sign. Okay, that's good. I know it's hard to read, and it's just kind of a little, like what you would see when you boot up Proxmox or something. It's kind of that same process. Man, that is really, really tiny, and I apologize. It's just kind of how it is. Let me see if I can make it bigger. All right, and then we're just going to scroll down kind of to the bottom there, just so we can kind of keep track of what's going on a little bit easier. So it says that this is going to take several minutes, right? So basically what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to wait for all of this to finish up. We're going to do a speed run on this so you don't have to sit for the next 5 minutes or whatever it takes. And in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can grab the IP address of this new device. Okay, so that actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. That's really neat. Also, because this was a Proxmox cluster device, I already know the IP address, which is .200, like so. And here it is. Welcome to ZimaCube. Let's create an account. What language do you want? Either English or Chinese. I'm going to say start, and then username, and create. And introduce ZimaOS. It's got connect, so stay connected and browse your secure data anytime, anywhere. Files and backup, unified management of scattered data with cloud and drive automatic backup support. And it's got an app store, which we've talked about, one-click installation, supporting over 30 different applications. And you can join the user experience program and help us enhance personal cloud server experience. I'm going to skip that for right now. I'm going to click continue, though. Just like that, there we go. Let's see. Interesting. Well, let's, oh, here we go. There it is. Okay, so I found the solid state disk and it found this. So let's look at the storage manager. Maybe. Storage, click there. There we go. Okay. So for our drives, here's what we've got. We've got a 1 terabyte drive. That's an SSD that's plugged in via the SATA cable. Yeah. So SATA drive right under there. It's a 1 terabyte drive. We've also got our 120 gig USB drive. That's our boot drive basically at this point. And then this is the eMMC storage right here, this last item. And that's what our storage looks like. And then of course this is our CasaOS data. This is again our USB drive. And then of course merge would show up if you had multiple drives that you could kind of consolidate into a single drive using their merge FS solution here. So let's create storage, and right here, storage 1, let's just call this SSD. And then it's like, hey, you've got a couple of options. So let's just do that. This selection before uses, okay, format and create and confirm. All right, creating your local storage, a secure haven for your data. And there we go. Now we have this SSD right here that is available for 928 gigs. Let's see our drives. This is all the same. Oops, let's close. What happens? Oh, and there it is. So now this is available. It is a total of 1.02 terabytes with 488 megs used just from overhead from formatting and whatnot, right? But that's it. Like that's how easy it is to get this up and running. There's, again, you just install it to whichever device you want to use as your OS device. Now, there is one thing that I should mention is that you may not want to install ZimaOS on You know, a USB drive, that's not always the best solution. They're typically slower than SATA is, for instance. So you might want to install your operating system on an SSD, whether it's a small, like say 256 gig SSD, or maybe you just want one drive for absolutely everything, and you get like a 1 terabyte or a 2 or a 4 terabyte. You can get one of these USB 3 to SATA adapters and go through the installation process that we just did. You know, plug in the drive here, plug this into your system, use Balena to write the operating system to your SSD, and just boot from that and have that one single storage device handle the operating system and all of your apps, however you want to do that. But again, I might hold off on doing that until this has been more fleshed out and is more out of beta. But if you just want to tinker around, check it out, follow the progress, that sort of thing. Again, links to all of this will be in the description down below so you can check it out and just kind of get an idea of where they're headed with their operating systems. But again, I think that's going to wrap up what I wanted to talk about in this video. Again, I just wanted to call attention to ZimaOS so that we could kind of know what was coming from the folks over at IceWhale. That's the parent company that does all of the Zima stuff. So yeah, so I think that wraps it up or covers everything I wanted to say. And I'm going to wrap this up. So again, thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with me today. And hopefully I will talk to you in the next video.